Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be continuing my After Effects crash course. I know that a lot of people come from VideoStar, so I try to relate it back to that as much as possible and as much as I can remember, because I've been using After Effects for 4 years and I haven't touched VideoStar barely at all in those 4 years. But one thing that I do recommend whenever you're making an edit, you're starting off, you want to start with photos. I split my audio and I've added my scenes and stuff in there. You can see how I did that. I have a video that is like how to make a base. You can check that video out after you watch this. So the reason that I recommend that you start with photos is because they're easier to work with when starting out on any program, because you're not dealing with any Twixtor or finding the exact right scene. Twixtor is just slow motion. You can move the ends and beginnings easily before you add any effects through freeze frame, this is a little bit of a hard example, but hypothetically, I need that this beat to start a second after it should, so I would just go do this, move that down, and then I would right click this clip and click freeze frame or freeze on last frame. One difference with VideoStar to After Effects is that each clip is not all in one layer, so you can see things stacked. So as you see here, I stack things up. I usually stack them about 3 high. That way, if I want to do like an opacity, like if I want to do like a fade in, I still have that clip going in the background. So it would look like this. VideoStar is the only program that does that, so I use like Procreate, Photoshop, CapCut. It's the easiest way to do overlapping transition, which isn't the transitions that I recommend you start with, but in general, it is the easiest. The easiest thing to start with is zoom, so let's start with a zoom here. You just click S and it comes up with this scale. So what you want to do is you want to turn on this motion and make sure this is enabled. What you'll do is you'll drag your scale to, I usually do it about to that end of that third clip, but not exact, so that way it's just a little bit different. So right about there is where you'll have that 100, and then you make another one that's about 200. Usually I do like 222 or 223. You can also double click here and just type in the number you want, like I just did. Click scale right here and it highlights both of these. I click F9. And then what I usually do is I have it start 1 beat before the clip actually does. I feel like it makes it smoother. Now, I'm not going to go deep into graphs in this video because I think that that's just a little bit too hard, but I will be making another video on graphs soon. Anyway, so you want to highlight these to open up your graphs. You click this button that's Graph Editor, and I'll kind of explain in my graph video what graphs I make and how it's changed throughout the years. But for now, you can just copy what I'm doing if you really want to. I'm going to add some quick shakes, which will also be for another video. Let's move on to a different transition. That's how you do the zoom. You do another zoom the opposite direction, which I'll show you in just a second. But you also can start with some rotation or opacity. So what I'm going to do is do opacity, because I feel like it sounds really good. A lot of times you want to do that opacity fade in whenever it has that snare or a hit or hi-hat or however you pronounce it, that because it has that like snap. Whenever it has that snap sound, like wait, you can hear it, versus the deep, that's deep, you hear that? Did you hear that snap? So do exactly what we just did for zoom, but you start with opacity 0 and go up to 100, F9, and you add your graph. But what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this. We're going to get rid of the opacity, set it back to 100, right click, blend mode, and add. And I'll do another video explaining all the different blend modes, because this is really a lot. Like, it's very confusing, and it took me a long time to kind of get used to it. So that's an opacity transition. We're gonna do a rotation transition. But what we're actually gonna do is a rotation zoom. So we're gonna mix those two things together. So this one, we're gonna click scale and rotation. So that's S and R. And you don't want to do 3D transitions, so this is the 3D button. And if you click R, then you have all these options. But if you take out, you just have rotation. When I do a rotation and zoom, the rotation is a lot less. So usually it's about 56, and then this is about 50. And I move that one past, and I smooth those, and then I would do my graphs. So slides are easy-ish, but they require like a little more work than the quote-unquote built-in transitions because of the 2 different values of horizontal and vertical, which I will show you here. I'm going to click P. So you see this position, you want to right click that and separate the dimensions. So the X transition is going to move it horizontally and the Y transition is going to move it vertically. So for this one, I want to do an X transition. I'm going to do it to about there. I didn't really explain the motion tile super well. The motion tile is what... So this is this with motion tile and this is without. It's just the mirror like Videostar has. Editing is like a lot of trial and error. So when you're editing, just be like almost, I don't like this, I like hate this word, but be like almost mindful to what type of thing you're doing. Like if you don't like it, change it. It's not required at all. And that's kind of why like presets from random YouTube videos don't really work. Most of them, they're really old and they're not good. So you like can do much better, I guarantee. It's gonna be great to know that you did your edits all yourself. Let's talk a little more about keyframes. So the biggest difference from Videostar to After Effects, which is what most people are switching from, is the fact that keyframes can be moved so easily and switched. Like you saw me just pull the whole keyframes and just move them over by one. Like I said, I usually start my keyframe before the clip starts and then finish after this next frame starts. Not usually, I usually have my clip so long on the bottom that it doesn't last the whole clip, and if it would be way too long. So just be mindful of those couple of things, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. We've kind of discussed our transitions and our keyframes, so the next video is going to be how I finished edit, which I already have a slight tutorial on it, but I had a couple other pointers. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!